I'm interested in your thoughts about the strength we have as an economy going into this episode, which we know will be tough. People have said on the positive side, banks with excess reserves, stress tested. Your point, though, is that we do not start with a good hand. What do you mean?
Well, we already had a weakened global economy because of the trade war that we had last year. And put on top of that the fact that last quarter in Europe and Japan was miserable. We were coming off that, and then we were hit by the coronavirus. So the problem really is at this point to get ahead of the virus, to make sure that this is a few weeks rather than a number of months. And that is where I think a number of countries, Italy and perhaps even the United States, are behind the curve.
So are you recommending the U.S. adopt some of the social measures? I mean, Italy's arguably extreme, shutting down all non-essential retail. Does that need to be replicated?
Well, we have to see. At this point, some of the experts are saying that the spread is considerably more than suggested by the number of cases, that we may already have thousands rather than hundreds of cases at this point in the United States. I would pay close attention to the professionals and see what is needed in terms of social distancing, in terms of closing down, because it seems to me that the more we get ahead of this, the shorter the impact is going to be on the economy, the better we will have resources to manage the most serious cases, and the quicker the recovery will be.
In terms of other types of policy response to try and mitigate the impact on the economy and financial markets, on one hand, you hear folks say that central banks have largely expended whatever ammunition they might have had, if that might be the right analogy. On the other hand, we presumably have lessons from the dealing with the global financial crisis. So what do you think is the appropriate response right now in terms of monetary authorities?
Well, I think the first policy response should be with the fiscal authorities, which is sending money to the most vulnerable. I think there are many people who don't have jobs that they're not on payrolls. They're on the gig economy. They don't have any money coming in. And the first task is to make sure that they have enough to pay for food, to pay the bills that are coming in. The second is to make sure that vulnerable firms, small and medium enterprises that have liquidity problems as we see a shutdown over the next few weeks, have the ability to sustain through this period and don't actually go bust and have to lay off a whole number of people. So targeted measures at facilitating lending, for example, more SBA guaranteed loans. These might be effective at this point in preventing a wider consequence of the coronavirus related measures. And then after that, you can think of broader fiscal stimulus or monetary stimulus. But I would say start with the most vulnerable at this point. They're also the people who need to spend. It's also morally right. So maybe a check to families, maybe to all families, if we can't target well, of $1,000 per adult or per family, plus maybe $500 per child.
Well, the key is going to be making sure that that $1,000 doesn't go immediately to the cost of a test, which is something obviously the policymakers are working on too. I want to ask you about tariff rollbacks. It's something that's been talked about because it would have an immediate effect. The president can do it all by himself. How much benefit would there be in it, since we're really talking about household behavior now?
It would, I think household behavior in the short run is important. Longer run, we also need businesses to have more confidence. I think a tariff rollback would be a confidence builder across the world. It won't resuscitate cross-border investment, which is plagued by extreme degrees of uncertainty about trade going forward, but it will help restore some business confidence and some sense that when this virus is behind us, the world will look a lot better. So I think this is a measure that the president can sign quite quickly. He can work with the Chinese, and both sides can roll back. That would be a confidence booster.